I'm not going to tell you guys what happened right before we went live. All I'm going to tell you is welcome back to football. This is probably not called Trust the Tape. Not sure. But I'm Jeff Cavanaugh, who you can find on my own page, obviously, where a lot of you are, and we'll see this, and at youtube.com/@DLLS_sports, where you can see me 4 days a week and do pre and post game shows with our friends at DLLS. And that is Bryan Broaddus, who you can find everywhere. Cowboys.com, 105.3 The Fan, Love of the Star podcast, hanging out with Vach, hanging out with me. He's everywhere. What's up, Bryan?
Good morning, Jeffrey. Good morning, world. Hope everybody's doing well today.
Yes, we are preparing to beat the San Francisco 49ers by 50. And that's going to be exciting. It'll be really nice to get the season right back on track. I would like in the chat if you could leave the final score of the Cowboys versus 49ers. And I'd like to shout out to Mark, who asks the opening question. Cavanaugh, is it the hot dog or the bun?
No, this is a hot dog bun. I think it's a hot dog, too.
And I don't know.
Stephen Jones, always been a meat guy.
Okay, that's an interesting way to put that.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian's been all up in the tape, deep in the tape.
I have.
And, you know, when people talk about Jimmys and Joes and X's and O's and all of those different things.
Sure.
Can I start off with something that I don't love? It sure sounds like the Jimmys and Joes that San Francisco is going to have Jimmy and Joe back, or some of the Jimmys and Joes back. And in a world where I thought Micah Parsons and DaRon Bland might have already been playing football, it sure sounds like neither one of them is going to play football.
No, it really doesn't. You know, I was asking some folks over there after the bye, was where we're going to see, you know, Bland. I'll tell you what, throw Kendricks in there too as a question. Yeah. And so this is a very even. Okay, you take 3 of your players off, and we'll take 3 of our players off. You know, it's both teams right now are struggling with their health. The 49ers do have a bye after this game. They need this in the worst way. It's still a very formidable team. You know, when you look at how they play, their offensive line has no other line in the league has played more snaps together than the 49ers. So that part of it,
players are good.
Yeah, they've got some good players over there. Their left guard would be a little questionable for me when you talk about Aaron Banks. Jeff, I know Vach Lombardi and I have talked about this. I know I talked about it on DallasCowboys.com a little bit. This might be a game where you're dealing with a team that doesn't have a lot of their weapons at wide receiver when you start to talk about Brandon Ayuk, maybe Kittle. Deebo Samuel, the old scout in me thinks that if Deebo Samuel was in the hospital till Wednesday, he wasn't going to play. But the old scout.
I can. It's weird to say I hope that a guy is hurt. I hope that they're missing a lot of guys, but just from quotes from Kyle Shanahan yesterday, he thinks Kittle's going to play, and Deebo sounds like he's got a pretty good shot at it.
There you go. Well, I thought for sure the guy with the pneumonia symptoms was going to play.
That was in the hospital with like fluid.
I wasn't sure about the guy with the sprained foot. That but that presents a different challenge altogether. This team, even without their weapons on the outside, if they were to sit, still run the ball at a very productive clip. They like to run it from underneath center. They like to run it to the outside. They're very good at it, you know, with Jordan Mason as that primary back. He makes people miss. He's tough. He's physical. Dallas doesn't tackle particularly well. A lot of issues that Dallas has to deal with in this game when it comes to if San Francisco were severely compromised with their skill guys, they could still line up and run the football and probably be really good at it. And that's a problem for the Cowboys.
So we were talking about this earlier this week at one point. My dear friend and yours, Jesse Holly, was just like, look, if I'm Mike Zimmer, everyone's in the box. Like if Brock Purdy throws for 500 yards and beats me, I'll tip my cap to him. So I looked this up, and
Dallas is terrible. Dallas is terrible with stack box.
and they already do it. Like
do it. Yeah, 40,
Dallas,
like 43%, 45% stack box.
they know themselves.
They're playing 8 in the box, and they're struggling with it. And that would be the trigger. That would be the mechanism in your mind. You would say, don't let them run the ball against you. And you're thinking, okay, how do you do that? Get more bodies in position than they have blockers. Well, what you're playing against is one of the best coaches in the league when it comes to taking his guys and making sure he has enough blockers, and maybe sometimes even more blockers than he needs to get the ball to where he needs to go. But Dallas, as a stack box team, 8 in the box, and they do this like 44% of the time.
2.3, I'll have you know.
Okay. Yeah. It's 42% of the time where it doesn't get the job done. They struggle in that area, and that's not a simple solution for them.
And I think that's the toughest part where somebody said doom and gloom brought us, and somebody else says, is there anything Dallas does well? Shout out to you guys for being here. That's the hard part.
Folks, I'm sorry. I'm not going to come in here and blow smoke up your ass and make you feel good about your football team right now. Your football team does not play defense very well. They don't. And the thing that San Francisco does is they run the ball well. They have a back that is comparable to the back you played against the Ravens. Just look at the numbers. It'll tell you that. I feel bad for you folks. I'm doing my best to educate and watch tape. I encourage you to watch tape too. Buy the NFL Plus program and do what you have to do to watch, and you can kind of see it with your own eyes. You don't play good run defense. They run the ball well. There is no reason for them to throw the football in this game, unless you'd like to attack the middle of the field, which Dallas is poor at too, and San Francisco is really good. But then again, you want pom-poms and everything going off right now and tell you your football team's in good shape. They're not in good shape defensively. They're just not, So I hope, if you don't want to watch, just keep watching Jeff, but don't watch me, because I'm not going to sit here and blow smoke up your ass, Hey,
wait a minute. Did you just say that I will, Brian?
What? Blow smoke up your ass?
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know. Throwing it out there.
I started with Jimmy's and Joe's versus X's and O's for a reason, because a lot of
your X's and O's ain't great either. General manager doesn't think your X's and O's very good either. He's questioning that.
Well, yeah, your head coach.
But don't listen to me. I don't know what the F I'm talking about.
All right, that's it. I'm being super positive the rest of the way. No, that's what worries me the most, is that a lot of the things where it's like, okay, well, what does Dallas need to do differently? What would you do to beat the 49ers? You start going through it. And a lot of those things, like the Cowboys know that, and they do try that, and they are trying the things that people want them to do. They're already doing it, and it's not working. So what has to be different if you want to beat the San Francisco 49ers is those guys who are playing bad football. Yeah. Somebody got to play better football, and it's a lot of them. And
6 weeks. 6 weeks. We've seen this. You're starting to be who you are. The problem is even having all the guys back, even if you'd had Parsons and Tank and Bland, that would have been tough last week to beat the Lions. It'd been tough. Probably been a closer game. It probably wouldn't have been, 40 whatever to whatever, probably wouldn't have been that. And you know what? This opportunity this week, if you had all those guys, that's the problem. You're playing with guys that play 15 to 18 snaps a game. Some of them are playing Wheat's playing really good football for playing as many snaps as he is. Carl Lawson. There's people that thought Carl Lawson was dead, football terms. But he's giving you a half sack. He's giving you some pressure. Sure. Micah Parsons against Trent Williams or McKivitz is a good matchup. Carl Lawson versus Trent Williams, probably a bad matchup.
Maybe you could get him to throw a punch. See if you can get him thrown out. That's the strategy against
I just see that's the problem, and that's the frustrating thing. And you're absolutely right. Mike Zimmer's trying to do some things. Oh yeah, play loaded box. Hey, put more blockers, put more defenders down there. Yeah, we do that almost half the time. Doesn't work. That's a problem. Open your eyes, folks. There are things that you don't do well, and a lot of it is because of some of the injuries you're dealing with right now.
Yeah,
But
that's
let's not completely wash our hands of this. When you played the Saints, you had most of your guys and you got your ass kicked doing that. Maybe they're just not good playing run defense. Maybe the front's not good enough. Maybe the linebackers aren't good enough. Maybe the safeties aren't good enough. Maybe the corners don't want to tackle. There's a lot of things that you cannot swing in 5-6 days and expect it to be different. You just can't.
So watching, I think for a lot of people, what happens is you watched on Sunday afternoon, you watch the Kansas City Chiefs and the San Francisco 49ers, and you watch two quarterbacks who both had trouble moving the ball or getting anything going.
Yeah.
That are two of the better quarterbacks in the league. And so the hope becomes, oh, well, then what? Well, Brock Purdy's not playing great, and the Niners offense isn't playing great, and they're missing all of these guys. And I do think, to your point, the difference is the Chiefs defense is really, really good.
Oh, yeah. And we've watched the Kansas City Chiefs. We always talked about how bad their defense was. God, if Mahomes could get him, a defense. And this is when Bob Sutton was defensive coordinator at Kansas City, for Andy Reid. And they were bad. They were bad in a lot of different areas. And what happened? They go get Steve Spagnuolo. And now we've seen Kansas City. People don't talk about their offense anymore. It's like
they haven't been good.
Mahomes is a really good player.
I mean, he's.
But you talk about how well.
He's the best quarterback on the planet, but he has 6 touchdowns and 8 picks this year. Mahomes hadn't played good football.
Yeah, you talk about McDuffie and you talk about all these guys that on defense, and you talk about Steve Spagnuolo. That's how you win football. Kansas City has gone from a team that what an offense to seen their defense play lately.
Yeah,
seen that defense. That defense is what winning them these games because Mahomes isn't having play. He's not playing great. He's not, 49ers did a really good job against them. They did a really good job. But a lot of teams have done a good job against Kansas City, but they keep winning. They keep winning because they do make plays on offense, but they don't, their defense doesn't give you anything. See, this is where if Dallas, and I'm not saying Dallas could be Kansas City's defense, but if Dallas's defense was better, maybe some of these things you're dealing with in your own offense, how bad you are in the red zone, that's a huge problem, Jeff. That's a huge problem. Now, fortunately, San Francisco 49ers, they're bad in the red zone too.
Have you seen the Cowboys when they run the ball in the red zone? You see their yards per carry?
Yeah.
0.8.
0.8. Yeah.
You get less than a yard a carry inside the red zone. Cowboys got problems, and the only way to get
people to talk
better about the Cowboys is the dudes that are out there.
Yeah. Play better.
Way better than they have.
Yeah, and that's the kind of the, in a way you don't, you want to be better than that. I'm just talking about from an analyst's perspective. I want to be better than just say, God, you know what? Got to execute better. Got to play better. In reality, it's true, but they're fundamental things that they have wrong. There's fundamental things that they're doing wrong, and that's got to be your hope coming back from they're not going to be able to change a lot of players. It's just not going to happen. But fundamentally, maybe they do find something. You know what? We're a bad red zone team. We're a bad tackling team. That to me is a physical thing. Oh, we don't play the middle of the field well on defense. Well, why? Your safety's not good. Linebacker's not playing well enough. Those are the answers that you're trying to look for right now. Why do we tackle poorly? Why do we miss 16% of the tackles we have? When last year we were one of the best in the league, and now we can't tackle to save our lives.
And this running back breaks more tackles than anyone.
Anyone in the NFL. This guy's got more explosive runs than anybody in the NFL, and that's including that guy that everybody wants out there in Baltimore.
Yeah.
This is not going to be fun this week because they're in a situation. They're just as desperate as you are. They are just as desperate as you are, and they're having to answer. Kyle Shanahan is having to answer a lot of questions about his team. You think you have problems? Go look at the boards at San Francisco and their fans. Their fans hate Kyle Shanahan, hate Brock Purdy.
Boy, sports fans are psycho, aren't they?
Yeah. I'm glad. Hey, I'm glad they watch us every day here.
Yeah.
But while I'm on, I'm going to try and educate you. You don't have to listen, and a lot of you don't, and that's okay. But you know what? If you sat down with me and watched this, you would probably better understand the issues you're up against this week. And you were up against issues last week against Detroit as well, and see what happened there.
Just remember, Jerry Jones, you paid Dak and CeeDee this week versus the Niners. It will not pay off. Well, they also have paid Tank Lawrence, and Micah makes money, and Trayvon Diggs makes money, and Zach Martin makes money, and those guys have better football. Steele makes money. In Kansas City, like the idea that because you have those guys, you can't do anything else. All of the teams who just traded for a wide receiver, Amari Cooper got traded to the Bills, and now DeAndre Hopkins to the Chiefs. Pat Mahomes makes a bunch of money. So does Chris Jones. So does, like, go down the rosters. A lot of guys make money, and other teams are trading. And I think that might be the hardest part for a lot of the fans, is that this year, this is the way that the Cowboys have chosen to do it.
Yeah.
To get ready for future years.
Yeah.
Other teams are chasing and are going, hey, how are we going to win the Super Bowl? And the Cowboys are not doing that. And so I could see that being frustrated to the fan base, but also you're probably not a player or two away. So you say, we're going to see what happens when our guys get back, and it's on y'all.
Yeah.
Show me what you got.
Yeah. You lose this football game. You're really not doing anything, trade wise, because you're going to be in a situation. You know, what's amazing about Kansas City? They went and asked about Cooper Kupp.
Yeah.
They went and asked. They said, hey.
We knew they would.
And they went and asked about Cooper Kupp, and the Rams were like, hey, we'll trade you Cooper Kupp. Sure. Second round pick. Kansas City's like, damn, that sounds like a good deal. We just don't have the cap money to do it. We need you to take more of the contract. They got the Titans to take more of the contract. Same thing the Cowboys tried to do when they got Gilmore and Cooks and those guys. Hey, will you take some of the freight? Will you pay for some of the freight? And the Rams weren't willing to do that. Rams weren't willing to take on, the majority. I mean, Cooper Kupp, you look at his contract, it's actually affordable. We're halfway through. We're halfway through the season. I mean, they've paid half of his salary already. But, in coming years, it's a very reasonable contract, I believe. I know our guys on the show looked it up yesterday, and it sounded like to me like, but that's what you got to try and do. You got to try and, if they knew they were in trouble offensively, what do? They're going to go out and try and get a receiver. And Hopkins, we'll see if he can stay healthy. That's been a big problem of his the last few years.
Yeah, but there's certain teams do things differently. Like if the Eagles have a glaring weakness, I promise you they're going to address it. If the Chiefs have a glaring weakness, I promise they're going to address it. Bills too. Like, those are the aggressive teams. The Cowboys, they don't do it that way. Yeah, and that makes life very sad when the Cowboys are struggling.
I come on here and I talk about the cap. I don't know shit about the cap, okay? I'm just going to be honest with you about that. What I do know is I worked with people for a long time over there that if I have a question, I can ask about the cap, and I feel like, hey, is this the right way to think about it? And they go, no, think about it this way. And I'm like, okay. So I try and educate myself and educate people when I talk about it, And there's things that they will absolutely say that they cannot do. And they're talking about ways of, like, in the next coming years, it's going to be difficult again. It's going to be more difficult, and nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear that. But, when you say it, it's, you're trying to give an opinion or information that leads our listeners to being a little bit better educated. Well, why aren't they doing anything? Because they don't feel like that they're going to have the money to do things. And I know people say, well, you could kick the can and do all that. They don't want to kick the can. Right. They don't want to kick the can. They don't want to change general managers, and they don't want to kick the can.
Yeah. And I think that's important perspective. I think to know what they think, feel, and what they will most likely do.
I'm not trying to make crap up here.
No. I will continue to call them out on doing it wrong, because I think once you've declared that Dak is the quarterback for another 4 years,
there you go.
It becomes your window. So maybe not this year, because this year looks wonky and probably not going to work out for you anyway. Mm-hmm. But over the next 3, well, you better start kicking some cans, because that's your window. And if you're going to play it down the middle while other teams play it aggressively, even though this is your run with your quarterback, then I think you're not doing it right.
See, the reason you're able to take this attitude is because your general manager has no fear of being fired.
Right. He doesn't have to.
Let me tell you what,
aggressively try to
I know Les Snead. Les Snead and I with the Rams are friends. I know Jason Light with Tampa Bay. These guys several years ago thought they were going to get fired. Jason Light's like, I'm done. Well, I'm done. Tom Brady falls in his lap. He gets a 5-year extension. You know, John Gruden doesn't show up with the Rams, so Les Snead gets Sean McVay, and now he gets a coach that is super aggressive, state of the art, all that stuff. And now he could say, F those picks. Let's try and do this. Now, what are the Rams trying to do? Rams are trying to collect some picks.
Right.
You know, there's different ways of doing this. Your Dallas Cowboys, with no fear of their general manager getting fired, yeah,
they ride it steady.
They could take an attitude of like, we're really not interested in paying anybody right now or signing anybody. We're just not. You know, and that there's no fear. When you fear losing your job, you will do everything in your power to save your lake house, to keep paying for it. You will do anything. You'll mess up caps. Look what Sean Payton did.
Sean Payton.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. You get you a lake house yet?
Oh, I'm working on it. That's why I'm doing shows with you so I can afford a lake house.
All right, You're right.
But that's where this all comes down to. Sean Payton wrecked the Saints, basically.
Oh, yeah.
He wrecked the Saints.
Oh, and they're wrecked even worse now. Like they did it again. They wrecked their cap.
They just keep wrecking it. They just keep wrecking
try
it
again.
Yeah,
they move everything.
And then they're 2-5, and they're looking at a high pick. But that's what I'm saying. Sean Payton went in there and said, "Oh, do this, trade that, do this," and then all of a sudden you leave. Now somebody else is cleaning up the mess. See, so I don't know. Like I say, this is going to be a very, very tough game. Can Dallas win this game? Sure. Does San Francisco do things that give you problems? Absolutely. Things that you're not very good in. You're not very good stopping the run. They've got a quality back. They throw the ball in the middle of the field, intermediate routes, 10 to 19 yards. That's their bread and butter right there. All those crossing routes, all those routes you saw last week against Detroit, get ready. You're going to see them again this week. You're going to see those routes breaking in the middle of the field right there. Now, if some of these guys are out, I think Brandon Ayuk being out really hurts them. Really hurts them. Now, we'll see. We'll see how healthy Kittle is. We'll see how Deebo Samuel plays. But, you don't defend the middle of the field well, probably because your safeties aren't great right now, and your linebackers are struggling a little bit, and you're struggling with your own health problems.
So, yeah, I mean, every part of when you just go to the individual matchup, like what each team does or wants to do, it's trouble. And every matchup is going to be trouble when you're missing DaRon Bland and your 4 top edge guys anyway. So
it's a problem.
This is a lot. And Nick Bosa is going to line up against one of your tackles, and that's a lot. One of the things
it's funny, real quick, Jeff. Bosa only has, in all the games he's ever played against, he has 1 sack.
Yeah.
He's got pressures.
Right?
He's got pressures. He's got pressures. But it's not the point where he's like, it's not like playing Chaz Green where he's got 7 or 8 sacks against you playing, but he matched up last year against Steele. Steele gave up 4 pressures, in the game, gave up a sack or a half sack, I think it was. But yeah, that's where this game, they're going to move that guy around. And the thing about it is you got to figure out how to block Fred Warner too. That's another one.
Yeah, he's quite good.
They're going to rush 4. You got to be ready to pick that up. Picking up 4. That's what they want to do. They don't want to blitz you. They want to rush 4, and they want to play coverage. And you can attack their safeties. I think a little bit. I think that if this Jair Brown is a guy that I would kind of look at as a guy that maybe that if you can match him up.
Little PTB2, little pat that bitch 2 times, throw it far as you can.
Why not? Yeah. It's Ward and Lanier are good players, but they've given up. They play a lot of zone coverage. They give you there's some tight window throws there. By the way, speaking of tight window throws, the 49ers and the Cowboys are basically the same team when it comes to tight window throws. Their receivers aren't getting open either. And you would think with their scheme that they would be a lot more open. But this guy, he holds the ball, and there's a lot of tight window throws. Can you be good enough to cover? Can you be good enough? That's a question.
That's interesting because if you want to draw up,
Mm-hmm.
I'm a homer, and I'm very optimistic that the Cowboys are going to win this game by 30. If you
Mm-hmm.
want to draw up the scenario where the Cowboys
You're going to pick them today? Are you going to pick them Friday on your show to win the game by 30?
No. But I do think like, because you mentioned that Brock Purdy usually is not a hold the ball, extend the play, try to make a play guy. And this year he's become that, and it's been his worst season, but they've also been banged up. So there's a lot of reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But I also think he's been good at it this year.
He has been really, he's been good. Yeah, that's the thing.
But that also gives you opportunities. If he's going to hold the ball, and again, we go back to, but who's going to get home when he does that? Like who's in somebody, I don't know. But the Cowboys being -6 in turnover differential, win that. For 1 week, Dak, don't turn it over.
Well,
be able to move the ball, maybe finish a drive in the red zone. Purdy, if he's extending plays and they actually call a pass play, hey, Trayvon Diggs, you make a bunch of money. Why don't you go catch one and give me an opportunity? Like, I try to draw up the scenarios, and they're out there.
Kansas City did it. Kansas City got a little lucky. Kansas City tipped balls.
Yeah.
Kansas City drove on routes. Kansas City had a Brandon Ayuk drop that would have been about a 40-yard play.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you need to be a little lucky in these games. You know, Dallas hasn't had particularly great luck playing at San Francisco lately. You know, but yeah, it's the thing about you have to worry about a little bit too is San Francisco will find a way to turn you over. The last 2 games they've got 4 interceptions.
Yeah.
You know, they will find a way. It's like I say, it's Fred Warner. It's, you know, it's I'll tell you this safety, this Mustafa, boy, phew, yeah, they got him at Wake Forest. He's a rookie. Man, what a good player he's been. He's a hard guy. They throw passes at him. He's given up one. I saw one pass caught on him. So it's, if you want to, you can find it. But the problem is, I thought you could find it last week again or last time out against the Lions. General manager said the same thing on his radio show the other day. He goes, you know, and we really thought we were going to move the ball in the secondary for the Lions. We really thought we were going to move the ball. You didn't, you know. And here's your hope again that your quarterback and your receiver are on the same page, and you know you get your tight end going. I'd like to see him try and run the ball a little bit. You know, I don't think handing the ball to Ezekiel Elliott is a very good recipe for anything right now. And I'm sorry, fans, if you've got your 21 jersey on right now and they're jumping up and down, you know,
or you're 15.
You know, people there, yeah. If you bought a 15 jersey, you're really a good fan.
That is so true.
Mm-hmm.
Brian, I hope you have a wonderful day.
I'm going to have a wonderful day, Jeff. I really am. I really am.
I like when you're fired up.
I'm fired up. I'm fired up because I'm fired up because I'm fired up because I'm disappointed as a Cowboy fan. I'm disappointed that you're not healthy enough to play in this game. You know, that bothers me. That bothers me. This is a one shot that I feel like with San Francisco dealing with their ailments that maybe you go in there and you had all your guys, you'd figure out a way to get it done. You need to play this game like you played against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's what you need to do. You need to bottle that runner up as best as you can. Don't let him get to the edge. Tackle, and then find a way to not be bad in the red zone. And when you have to have plays, make sure you get it done. If you have all those things there, they can win a game like they did against Pittsburgh. If they don't, I'm not saying they'll get blown out like they did against Detroit or Baltimore or the Saints, but
this is very, very 38-10able. It's very possible.
Sure it is.
It's very possible.
Sure it is. Yeah.
Or Cowboys by 100.
Cowboys by 100.
My kayak got here, so I'm gonna go blow up my kayak and then and prepare myself.
Hey, real quick before you leave on that kayak.
Yeah.
I want to see a video of you like in the Puget Sound up there in the Great Northwest, like with the kayak with killer whales. I think that would be fascinating.
Okay. Yeah, my little inflatable kayak out there.
Yeah, I'm always fascinated when the killer whales are swimming with somebody with a wetsuit on.
Yeah.
That they can maybe identify what keeps an orca from saying, is that a seal or a human in that wetsuit? That looks like. But I want you to get that kayak and get good enough to where you're floating around, and all of a sudden the pod of killer whales surface, and they're kind of swimming with you.
Yeah, I'll become their leader. Yeah. I'll communicate with them. Give them
you and nature together would be awesome. We need to see more of those videos.
F&A. All right, Brian. Have a wonderful day, buddy.
You too.
Remember, everybody, you have no idea what the Cowboys are going through. So be cool to everyone. We love you. Be easy.